Chapter 10, Mishnah 8. The last Mishnah of this tractate discusses the laws of a woman who discharges blood during her days of Ziva. In general, a woman who discharges blood during her Ziva days must first observe one day that is free of blood, and only then can she immerse herself in a mikveh to purify herself. The Mishnah records a dispute regarding a woman who discharged blood on her 11th and last Ziva day. If a woman discharged blood on the 11th day of her Ziva days, and she immersed herself in a mikveh that night, the night of the 12th day, and had relations with her husband based on this immersion, Beis Shammai say the woman's nighttime immersion is invalid because she has not yet observed even part of a clean day, and the woman therefore remains as tameh as before. The woman and her husband will thus make any mishkav and moshav on which they rest tameh, and they are obligated to bring a chadas offering for having engaged in forbidden relations. But Beis Hillel say they are not obligated to bring a chadas offering because their immersion was effective according to biblical law. Beis Hillel agree, however, that the woman and her husband will make a mishkav or moshav tameh by rabbinic decree. Another dispute about a woman who discharged blood on her 11th day. If she immersed herself on the day following her discharge, namely during the daytime hours on day 12, and had relations with her husband after the immersion and later that day discharged blood, Beis Shammai say by rabbinic decree the woman and her husband transmit tumah to any mishkav and moshav upon which they rested between the time of her immersion on the 12th day and her discharge later that day. But they are exempt from bringing a chatas offering for having relations during that time. But Beis Hillel say, by rushing to have relations before nightfall, this husband is indeed a glutton. But the rabbis did not decree the woman or husband retroactively tameh. The Mishnah now contrasts the above two laws with the case of a woman whose discharge occurred on one of the earlier Ziva days, the first law. And they, Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel, agree in the case of a woman who discharged blood in the middle of the 11 days of Ziva, namely on one of the first 10 days, and immersed herself that very night after the discharge, and then had relations with her husband, that the woman and her husband make a mishkav and moshav tameh, and they are obligated to bring a chatas offering for having engaged in forbidden relations because her immersion was meaningless. The second law. If she immersed herself during the day following her discharge, as opposed to at night, and then had relations with her husband on that same day, this is bad behavior, because they risk being liable to karas, and the tumah status of what they touch and the permissibility of their relations depend on whether she discharges blood later in the day. If she remains clean for the rest of the day, it emerges that her immersion was valid. Therefore, what the couple touched is not tameh, and they will not need to bring a chatas for sinful relations. But if she does discharge blood before the day is over, this disqualifies the immersion retroactively. Thus, whatever they touched became tameh, and they violated the prohibition against having relations with a zava.